Hello, and welcome to another exclusive interview by Recovery Today magazine at recoverytodaymagazine.com, where first and foremost, we're a magazine of hope. Whether you're considering addiction recovery for yourself or a loved one, or you're actively in recovery a short while or many, many years, you'll find information on all topics related to addiction recovery and living a happy, successful, sober life at Recovery Today. My name is Sherry Gaba. I'm the editor of Recovery Today and host of the Recovery Today Summit, and I have the distinct pleasure of interviewing another great guest today, MICHAEL Lohan, who is a father, an ordained minister, an investment banker, a drug and alcohol treatment industry owner, operator, a writer, and public speaker. He was born in 1960. MICHAEL worked for a family pasta business while a pre-law major and business minor. In the third year of college, MICHAEL took a summer job working for his Uncle Harry, a founding member of the New York Mercantile Exchange, and rather than pursue a career in law, MICHAEL bought a seat on the New York Commodities Exchange and became a floor trader. In 1965, MICHAEL married Dina Sullivan, whom he remarried to for 21 years and had whom he remained married to for 21 years and had 4 children, Lindsay Lohan, now 30, MICHAEL Jr., 29, Alana, 23, Dakota, 20. Due to what MICHAEL calls the negative influences of his daughter's stardom, the entertainment industry, and people involved in his daughter's career, his marriage dissolved, but he still maintains a great relationship with his ex-wife and children. In 2015, MICHAEL remarried Kate Major, whom he now has 2 children with, Landon, 4, and Logan, 2. Presently, MICHAEL works in drug and alcohol treatment industry as an owner and facilitates interventions, is a spiritual counselor for also a columnist for the Christian View magazine, and a radio show host for Addiction Untreated. Oh, I'm so happy to have you here, MICHAEL. I'm just really honored and excited to see you again.
Well, likewise, it was a great experience I had with you on Celebrity Rehab, and it's great revisiting that. So I appreciate it.
We had a lot of fun. I think we also did a couple of news shows together on CNN. I think we might have even we were kind of having like a dual discussion.
Yes.
You know, it was during all the crazy times. Now addiction is so mainstream. There's not as much of that on television, except talking about the opiate epidemic, right?
Yes, but that's what bothers me, Sherry, to be honest. All we talk about is opiates, and it's not an opiate epidemic, it's an addiction epidemic, because meth is getting crazy out there. And if you really look at it, the biggest problem we have is alcoholism. And
Right.
More people die from alcoholism, more people are alcoholics. So we're overlooking that. I just think personally, it's not a matter of what kind of an epidemic it is. It is across the board. It's how we're treating it, and I think that's the problem. One of the problems.
I agree. I had an expert say to me the same thing, that it isn't just an opiate epidemic, it's the use of all the drugs, you know? And then you create your own drug by using all the different drugs that you're on, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
So I would agree. Why do you think experts, the news shows are not sensationalizing it like they used to? Like, is it because of just the fact that they're focused on opiates? Or it used to be I never liked it, they would only sensationalize when all the celebrities were having a rough time, or God forbid there was an overdose. You never heard, and that's why we do this magazine, because we want to offer hope and inspiration. Why isn't there more hope and inspiration in the news, in the media, about all the great things that are happening in the recovery movement?
Well, you want to know my opinion is, I think more than anything, it's political. I think that our administration wants to make it about drugs coming across our borders because of the border wall. I think our government wants to make it about big pharma and the pills, and that's all geared toward opiates. It's not with the other problems. People aren't bringing alcohol across the borders. They're not bringing,
right.
And they're making meth in our backyard, so it doesn't, or in their bathtub for that matter. So I think that's part of it. But I think the stigma too. I mean, You too. 5 years ago, if I was in a room or if you in a room and there were 100 people or 1,000 people, and we said, how many people here are an addict or have someone in their family has has some kind of addiction or substance abuse problem, maybe 20 or 30% would raise their hand. Today, if you ask that question, 80 or 90% raise their hand, if not more.
Mm. I would assume this is why you are so passionate about being someone that is doing so much in this community for those that are struggling.
It is, but it's frustrating, Sherry, because my heart lies, honestly, it lies with children, because I've been through this. I know what it's like to see children, have children that are products of an addiction,
Oh.
and of their mom or whoever the case may have been, or even my own for that matter. And they're the real victims here. I truly believe adults have a choice. They can say yes or no. Is it your kids, or is it the alcohol or the drugs or whatever? And they're picking the alcohol and the drugs. And the kids fall by the wayside. They wind up in foster care, which is the most broken system in the country, that is rampant with abuse. There's abuse, there's neglect, and there's trafficking. And my heart goes out to them. And that's who I really want to help. I want to get the word out there with regard to treatment in general and how we're failing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say this about the children, because the only real family program I know about is I mean, a lot of let's say the rehabs will do family therapy, but the only family program that I've really ever heard about is, Betty Ford, where you actually go there for a weekend or a week or whatever, and they actually stress recovery for the children. And I'm not really, and a lot of that isn't even paid by insurance. I mean, there's a couple of other programs for codependents that are out there, but insurance doesn't cover it. It's considered like a quote retreat, when really the family is broken. I mean, I was married to an alcoholic. I was broken, and there was, really nowhere to go except a 12-step program, which of course I think is great. But why isn't insurance paying for people that are, that have addiction in their families?
They need to, and that's one of the other problems. It's the gap between insurance companies and treatment centers. The problem is, so let me just say this. First of all, in treatment, it's so cookie cutter throughout the entire industry for the most part, where we're doing psychological counseling. All we're doing is treating things clinically. They get one-on-one therapy, maybe once a week if they're lucky. They get group therapy, AA meetings, big book studies, this group, that group, anger management, all these things. And that's great. It's all needed. However, we're doing nothing to treat the brain. If we think that someone has been addicted for a year, 5 years, or 10 years, or 15 years to substances, and they're going to get better in 28 to 30 days, which is all insurance companies will pay, we're crazy, because they're not done detoxing in that amount of time on benzos or Suboxone or on alcohol. It takes a lot longer time for your brain chemistry to stabilize. So the answer is, okay, Mr. Insurance Company, Mr. United Healthcare or Aetna or Cigna or whoever you are, let's come to an agreement with treatment centers, where treatment centers aren't going to bill $1,000, $1,500, or $2,000 a day. Say, listen, for 30 days, you're billing us this amount of money, but let's go out 90 days, and let's say I'll give you $500 a day. So you're getting $45,000 for 90 days of treatment. Aha. Now people have a better chance of healing. Their brain can get better and cleaner, and they can focus more. Because right now when they go into treatment, they're still detoxing. They're not clear.
I agree. 90 days, you can actually make a difference and start changing the neural pathways for sure.
And you understand that. And Dr. Drew taught me so much about this, and I give him so much credit with regard to brain chemistry and rewiring your brain with neurotherapy or TMS, and products out there like Enlight that balance your brain chemistry. NAD, which is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, is absolutely amazing.
And then there's the trauma piece, because the first thing we say when someone gets into rehab, because of course I've worked at many rehabs, is let's just sit for a minute and just be, let's just get sober, okay? All right, now that we're sober, maybe then we can sort of touch on all the trauma stuff, because you're not really ready, right out the gate to start dealing with these early, like you talked about, abandonment and neglect and abuse and physical abuse and emotional abuse. You then can kind of start dealing with the trauma, after 30 days, 60 days, maybe, then you can sort of start processing it. Because in the beginning, like you said, you're still detoxing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's very important. And I think EMDR is a great means of resolving those or bringing to the surface those traumatic situations in your life. But you're right. It's got to be done at the right time.
The
You
right
can't
time.
do it at the beginning.
Right.
And it's going to be an ongoing process because once you open that door, get
Yeah.
ready. There's
Yeah,
a lot
exactly.
of things you have to resolve.
Exactly. So,
So
Michael, you're doing so many things as I read in your bio. What made you decide to do this interview today? I mean, you took the time, you've got two, as I mentioned, you have two little boys that you're raising on your own as a single dad. I mean, why take the time to do this interview for our magazine and for our listeners?
Well, a number of reasons. Number one, I love what you're doing. I love how you get the word out there and how it's very broad. It's not just let's focus. Let's be serious. You're a relationship specialist. You do a lot on codependency, but you go way outside that box. But at the same time, I have issues with that, Sherry. You know that. You were my therapist. And I couldn't really discuss it outside the box, but on your show I can. And it still affects me to this day because I don't turn my back on people I don't know, on people I never met in my life. How do people expect me to turn my back on the mother of my children or people that I'm related to? I can't do that. But I have come to the point in my life where I know when it affects my children and their safety, I have to do that, and I have to separate the two in a different way. I can't allow someone back in my life that's going to affect my kids.
So it's basically, it goes like this, right? Your life, if they start making your life crazy and you're starting to feel toxic and, in my case, I got shingles, I was married to an alcoholic. I went through many, many relapses and I got shingles and staph infections and kidney stones and losing hair. And it was really, I just had to let go. One thing about you, Michael, is you're a New Yorker. And again, people probably listening to this going, come on, Sherry, it has nothing to do with that. But I kind of do believe you're Italian, right?
Half Irish, half Italian.
There is a cultural thing too, and I'm sure there's other cultures too, everybody that's listening to this interview, but I do believe New Yorkers, my dad was from Brooklyn, and I think there are certain cultures, Italian, it's family first. Yes. Like it's in your DNA, like it wouldn't matter. You take care of your family. And again, everybody listening, there's other cultures that feel that way too. So it is hard to sort of draw the line because that's how you were raised.
And it's funny that you said that because it is very true. I'm not saying that other states or other cities don't have people that feel that their family is most important, but it seems to be our culture in New York and even people down here in Florida. The ones from New York are the family first kind of people.
Oh, I love New Yorkers. I love them. I agree with you. I'm from Southern California. My dad was from Brooklyn, and whenever I go to New York, they say, oh, New Yorkers are really rude. I'm like, no, New Yorkers are real, and they have your back. They have your back.
Oh, yeah, we do. I mean, look, I'm not going to, say that a lot of people aren't those kind of
Exactly.
But it seems to be our culture, at least the people I was around in my family. My family was first. Everyone else came second. No matter how wrong someone in your family was, you stood up for them. You talk about it behind the scenes and deal with it. But when it came to anyone else, listen, that's my family, and I'm not gonna turn my back.
Turn your back. So it really gets down to it's not that you're turning your back. That old saying, support their recovery, don't enable their disease. I mean, be there for them. But if you find that you're of no help to yourself and you can't function, then you have to reach out. Get into a program such as Alana or whatever.
You can't let their addiction afflict you, and you're absolutely right. I totally
know that it's in your DNA, and it's a work in progress. And I know some of the work we did on Celebrity Rehab was around your own early childhood stuff, and that stuff just lives in our bodies. We become, when we grow up in trauma or any sort of environment where there's chaos, we become other focused. And I talk about that all the time. And so you can't help it but have compassion for those around you because kind of that's your default, right? You're looking, So Michael, one thing I know about you, you got a big, big, big heart. That is for sure.
Thank you. But all this drama is affecting that big heart. I'm going through a lot of it, but
you got to protect it. You got to protect it.
it's just, you know, when you commit to this life and helping people like this, you have to be ready for it. You have to be prepared, because I don't think a lot of people realize what they're getting into when they get into helping people with substance abuse problems, because I take it very personally, and I can't turn my back on people or give up on them. And, you know, I was the kind of owner of my treatment center where I had an open door policy. They could come in my office any day of the week, or they could call me. They had my cell phone number. If there was a problem with a tech or somebody, they'd call me. And I still stay in touch with a lot of people that were in my treatment center. And I think that's important. It's just that, you know, when I was in the business per se of owning a center, I was treating 30, 40 people at a time. And I felt like there was more of a calling for me. And that's why I started the Second Chance movement with my partner, Alan, and my partner, Dr. Ken Lee. And we want to bring it to a different level and really create awareness and help bridge the gaps between insurance companies and big pharma, the treatment industry, and the government to try to make things, you know, a little more successful. And
so before we close this interview, let's make sure that you give me like a link or somehow where people can sort of get involved or learn more about what you're doing. And it sounds like it's kind of a political recovery movement.
it's not as, I guess you could say that, because there's a lot of politicians involved. But then again, we have a lot of celebrities in recovery involved and some not in recovery involved. We have an event coming up on May 23rd in the DC metro area. It's at the Gaylord Hotel in Alexandria, Virginia. And Mario Lopez is our host. Wendy Williams is one of our speakers. Tom Sizemore will be there. Janice Dickerson. We have Jerome Adams, the Surgeon General, will be there. We have James Carroll, who's the head of the drug czar for President Trump's administration. We have Jennifer Dean, the head of CADCA. The head of NIDA is coming. We have the head of the DEA outreach program.
Is it a conference? Is it a conference, or is it like a...
It's a dinner. Dionne Warwick is actually performing, and as you know, she was Whitney Houston's aunt, and she has recovery. But Wendy Williams has an organization called the Hunter Foundation, and she's getting flooded with calls. And a lot of these people don't know where to send their people. And there aren't that many great treatment centers out there that cover everything across the board, the medical side, the clinical side, and even aftercare, which is important. And there are a few out there.
Well, I might have to go, and I actually know people out there that I could stay with.
Might have to go.
So
I'm giving you a ticket for nothing, and you better do it.
All right, I'm gonna check. You have to send it to me again, and I'm gonna check it out for sure. And you'll let people know at the end of our interview. So, what is the program that worked the best for you? I mean, I know you were on Celebrity Rehab. You were there for different reasons, but what has stuck for you in terms of your recovery path?
The truth?
Yes.
Jail. Jail. Okay. My DWI turned my life around. On February 19th of 2005, I had been sober for quite a while, but something had happened with Lindsay, and I kind of went off the rails, and I had 3 Irish coffees, and I found out what happened, and I was on my way to the airport to get on a private plane to go to where she was, and I hit a telephone pole doing 80 miles an hour, and I died in the accident.
Oh, Michael. Okay. So that was it. That was your turning point.
That was my epiphany. And from there on, and it wasn't only, because look, it was my first DWI, didn't have a ticket in 9 years, and they gave me jail time. They gave me 1 1/3 to 4 years in jail.
Oh my God, that's scary.
A pastor had come to me, that the global director of Teen Challenge, his name was Pastor Jimmy Jack, came to me and said, he didn't even know me. And he came to visit me in the hospital, and he said, look, I want you to know something. He goes, I know that God has a calling for you, and there's a reason you're going through all these things. He said, I want you to stick to whatever they give you, whether you get jail time or not, stick to it. I want you to study the information I'm going to give you, and I want you to go to Bible college and become a minister and come work for me. And that's what I did.
I know. I see a lot of your posts on Facebook. You are it sounds like a devout Christian, and it sounds like it's really helped you a lot in your path. And that's good.
I'm a devout Christian, but not a perfect Christian. We all have our mistakes.
No, none of us are perfect. That is for sure.
No,
so I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up, but what do you think about the fact that celebrities do get so much more scrutiny, and there's so many yes people? I mean, you talk about what you're comfortable with. I don't want to make that the focus because I'm really here to talk to you, Michael. But yes, you are Lindsay Lohan's father and you've been there, done that, whatever. Maybe just quickly touch on that, why you believe that was such a difficult time for you and just in general for Lindsay or whatever you want to share.
That's fine. I mean, look, Lindsay was raised in an atmosphere where drugs and alcohol were not around her.
Oh, by the way, Michael, you know I have a Lindsay too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just reminding you.
But she, you know, it wasn't around her, and unfortunately, she got too big too soon. And I was against it, but Dina, you know, she thought it was okay for Lindsay to move to California at just turning 18 years old, and she had a roommate out there that I thought was a lot older, but the girl turned out to be only 19 years old. And they got into the whole partying scene, going out and drinking and you know, doing whatever you do, snorting coke here and there. And that, to me, that was just part of growing up. Some kids do that because it's thrown at them when they're celebrities. And I think we can use celebrities as a great example because they're put in a position and their lives are so highlighted that we can learn from them. And what happened was, you know, the first thing that Dina didn't want people to know that she was going out and partying and stuff. So she figured, let's keep this under the, you know, out under the radar, and let's send her to an addiction specialist. And what's the first thing they do? Put her on Adderall, put her on this, put her on that, all medication. And that just made it worse because she didn't need all this. She never needed those medications. She's a genius. Yeah. Why mess with her brain chemistry? Yeah. So between that and, you know, drinking here and there on top of it, it made matters worse. And after so many years, thank God, and some knocks on her door from God himself, she came to her senses. But she had to actually leave the people, place, and things behind that were affecting her. And that's why she moved to London, then Dubai. And
that's amazing.
By the grace of God, she's doing great again.
Oh, great.
I just think that people that are celebrities have too much thrown at them. You go to a restaurant or a lounge or a club and they give you free bottles of booze, and they give you, people come over with drugs and they want to be your friend, and it's hard for a lot of people to resist it.
And then the consequences, you know, if they're like, I worked at Promises for a while and I dealt with this a lot. And what happens is there's such an endless amount of money that there are no financial consequences per se. There may be a million other consequences, like losing your children, losing your partner, losing whatever. But when you don't lose money, I guess you can just keep going at it. And that's one of the sad parts of it.
You're right. And they feel that their money can buy those new things and the new friends and so on and so on. So they don't feel it's a loss. I mean, the real loss is the things that matter the most, the things of the most value, your family and the people that really matter to you. Because at the end of the day, Sherry, you know, and I know, and getting back to what we were saying, all those other people are going to disappear when the hard times come. It's your family are the only ones that will always be there for you. It's blood, and that's it.
It's so true. And sometimes it's not even extended family. It's just your little nuclear family. I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, it's about me, my daughter, her significant other, and my granddaughter, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
So what else did I want to discuss with you? Oh, I want to just say, because so many young people are pressured today, you know, they'll go to a party, there'll be a whole bowl of different drugs. They think they're experimenting. They think it's recreational. What would you say to that young person that just playing around?
You know, back when we were growing up, or when I was growing up, because I'm older than you.
No, actually, I'm a year older than you, Michael.
Well, you look a hell of a lot better than I look.
Okay, no. My granddaughter keeps me young.
When we were growing up, what was around? There was alcohol and marijuana. Maybe there was some people doing some other things, but not many. And then it graduated to Quaaludes and cocaine, and then finally heroin came out, and it became more prevalent. The message that I should get out to future generations is that it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. There was no such thing as meth. There was no Molly, MDMA.
Bath salts.
Bath salt and spice and all. It's alligator. It's getting worse and worse, and we don't know what they're putting in it anymore. People think they're smoking
fentanyl. They're cutting fentanyl with a lot of these things,
and that's why people are dying. People look at. I have a friend named Natasha Moyes. Amazing woman, great story. She's an one of 10 adopted children from a multi-billionaire. Him and his wife couldn't have children. They adopted 10 kids, and 6 of which had problems. Natasha came down with cancer when she was a young kid, when she was 19. And they put her on fentanyl, and she got addicted to it. Fentanyl itself didn't kill her. It's when you add fentanyl to other things that.
Oh, exactly.
She went through that. She broke that addiction. Then after she beat the cancer and she broke that addiction, she broke her back and got addicted again. By the grace of God, she got her life back in order again. She's been sober for a long time now, but she's working with me to set up programs to help children that are victims of addiction.
Oh, that's great. God, you're doing so many great things, Michael.
Well, you're going to meet all these people if you come to the event. They're all going to be there.
You know what? So what would you say to that family member that's listening, that they're trying so hard to help that loved one get sober and they just can't? What do you want to say to them to give them some hope and inspiration?
Don't ever give up. Don't ever give up, but be careful in what you do. I mean, we exercise tough love sometimes, but don't ever turn your back on your loved one. And especially don't enable them. A lot of people think that when a kid goes to therapy and they get out, buy them a new car. Don't reward them right away. Let them prove themselves and let them rebuild their lives. I think enabling is a huge problem, and we get that confused with love.
Yeah.
Love is sacrifice, and love is painful. It can be one of the most painful things that we experience in our life. But at the same time, we really have to be careful with how we approach our kids if there's an addiction.
Yeah.
And like we said before, just don't turn your back on them. Keep your faith and keep your hand out, but don't let them pull you down with them, because that's what they will do.
I think sometimes, it is pretty simple. We just complicate it a little bit. I think sometimes we know what to do. We just, the guilt and the shame and all this other stuff kind of takes over. Because if we just use what we know, if we have tools, we know what to do.
Well, it's just like in life. I mean, life isn't complicated. We complicate it. And when we're dealing with our loved ones, we make it more complicated than anything.
Exactly, because there's just so much emotion involved. Well, this was an amazing interview. I just want to close to see if people can either find you, find your organization. What is the best way to get involved in what you're doing?
Well, finding me, I've stayed hidden.
Okay, all right. We're not going to look for you, but for your cause.
Our cause is called #Second Chance, and it's Second Chance Partnership. Our website is www.secondchancepartnership.com. Our event is coming up on May 23rd at the Gaylord in National Harbor, Virginia. Actually, it's Maryland. It's on the border. But they can go to our website of secondchancepartnership.com and buy tickets or contact us, and we'll be more than happy to help you and facilitate you getting there.
Oh, that's great. All right. Don't forget to send me that link too, because I think I'm going to go call some people and say, I'm coming to Maryland or Washington.
You better. If not, I'm going to have someone come and get you and bring you there.
Uh-oh. Well, thank you. Thank you for doing this interview, and God bless you.
And God bless you, and thank you for everything you did for me during our time at Celebrity Rehab.
Love you, Michael.
I love you more.
Okay. Bye.
God bless.